Gosh, you look beautiful. And you know what? You're just a reflection of me. See, what you see on the outside is how you view yourself on the inside. Do you get that? That wasn't an egotistical remark, but some of you are believing it was. It's an idea that when you see the beauty of yourself, when you see and accept everything about yourself, you will come out of a state of judgment. And when you come out of a state of judgment, you now can see everyone is perfect and everyone is beautiful, just like they are. So what are we going to talk about today? Real simple. There's only one question we ever need to answer. And it's different than what you've heard before. This question is one that's going to cause you to think. And some of you are going to say, I do it. And I'm going to question whether you do it or not. Because here's what I know. If it's not demonstrating in your life, you are not doing it. Is that real clear? So we can put aside our masks. We can be open and real with each other and realize that we're all seeking, we're all trying, we're trying to embody, we're trying to become a greater expression of ourselves. So can we get to the idea that we're not going to be at the end result? Can we get to the idea that we're not in enlightenment? We can buy into the idea that we have moments where we experience it. And those are our precious moments. So here's the question. Do I choose to live consciously or unconsciously? It's fascinating. As you study psychology and you listen to the psychologists talk about our thoughts, 70,000 thoughts a day. 70,000 on average, 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day on average. 90% of them are habitual. Habitual thoughts, 90 to 95% habitual thoughts. 80% of the thoughts we think are negative. Think about that. Think about those math numbers and think about that. So what that is saying is that on average, people in the United States, 80% of the time, for sure are unconscious because they're thinking negative thoughts, because who would truly want to think negative thoughts? Let me clarify that, everyone. Do you know why we think negative thoughts? Because the way our body is wired, we naturally, when we think negative thoughts, it goes up into the brain, and the brain emits chemicals. So when we have that negative thought, that negative feeling, we've got that habit, the brain's spitting out oxytocin at us. And we become addicted to that chemical. So when we go to try to change what we want to change in our lives, we're not changing it. Why? Because we have an addiction going on that we don't even know we have. You see, we think addictions are those things of drugs and alcohol and eating and shopping and pornography and sex and all those things, but our thoughts are our most addictive vessel. Isn't that interesting? This is what science is showing. This is not spirituality. This is science really affirming what spirituality has been talking about for years and years and years. So as we go further, we can look at it and say, we are comfortable today, more comfortable today than any time in the history of the world. We live in the richest country of the world. There's never been more affluence than there is in the United States, and yet we have more dis-ease, more mental illness than we've ever had. What do they say? 70% of the population of the United States is on prescription meds. 70%. So look around you. There's probably 70%. Okay, that section over there is not on prescription meds. All the rest of you are. That's what it means. So you can go inside and say, well, it's not me, but you got to look around and say, what's the average? The average says 70%. That's on prescription meds. Now, how many people are self-medicating on opioids, on marijuana, on crack? How many are on, you name the alcohol? What's that percentage going to go to then? Maybe around 90? We have an optimist on that side of the room. But if you really think about that, so break down, go back to the question. Are you living consciously or unconsciously? If you are consciously living, and you understand that you are an individualization of the infinite, meaning you are a point of consciousness that is whole, perfect, and complete, and that all the power is in you, and you realize that there is nothing judging you, that's a lie, that's a fairy tale. That's like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. They're real for you for a while, and then for whatever reason, we outgrow that thing. We should remain like children. See, if we remain like children, we have beliefs and things that are beautiful. To a child, Taylor, isn't Santa Claus beautiful? Santa Claus brings you joy, doesn't it? So what do adults need? Adults need to believe in a form of Santa Claus for themselves. And that Santa Claus that they believe in should be something that they can look in the mirror and see when they see the reflection back. So we've got to 70%, so let's go. A life without a purpose has no meaning. This is the key. This is when we choose to live consciously or unconsciously. If we do not have a purpose, we will be unconscious in our lifestyle. And it has to have a purpose that is deep and meaningful to us. At Agape, there's a lot of new people here I'll share with you that I follow the works of Dr. John Demartini a lot. And the thing that I've gotten out of Dr. John, more importantly than ever, is the idea that we have a hierarchy of values. There are 4,637 human traits. They can be translated into values. Everyone has a hierarchy, and if you live to the hierarchy, you'll find your purpose. The problem is most people don't know their values. Here's the key thing. There are a lot of people that have taken the values workshop that know their values, and they can't tell you them. Is that conscious or unconscious living? What would a conscious person do? A conscious person would be able to recite their top values like this off the top of their head. Why? Because they understand that being conscious of those values will drive them into how their behavior is. And when you understand your behavior, you're now in control. But if you're not knowing what you value, who are you living up to? Everyone outside of yourself. And when you live up for the approval of people outside of yourselves, you are going to be a victim and you are going to need a mental health professional, and that will not help you either. Because you have to make a decision. Am I going to be conscious in my life, or am I going to remain unconscious? So let's go on. A life with purpose has meaning, and it also gives us a reason to live. When I talked earlier in class today, I talked about how the greatest segment of the population that's needing mental care is retirees. Think about that. Retirees, their purpose was what? To work and retire. Now they've stopped working and they've retired, and what do? Play golf. I got that answer from, I can't tell you how many people at my high school reunion in Michigan. Well, in Michigan, you can golf 3 months a year. You ever been to Michigan? There's 3 months. It's gorgeous. The rest of the time, it sucks. That's why the Wolverines will always let you down. I had to give up my attachment to the Wolverines ever being truly successful. Why? They don't understand the meaning of life. They still are in Michigan. So all of my Michigan friends out there in Facebook or on YouTube land, sorry, but you're the GOAT today. Although Michigan does have the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. So give them that up, you know. You may not like that, Cowboy fans. Too bad. Dak Prescott is no Tom Brady. That's just spiritual truth. God whispered that in my ear just a moment ago. When we have a purpose, we live in the now, and the whole world opens up to us. One of my top values, learning about human behavior. It's my third value. So in the last 2 days, I've been in this conference learning hypnotism, the effects of hypnotism, how to do hypnotism, being hypnotized. I think I've been hypnotized 9 times already in the last 2 days. whoa, I can't wait to leave here and go back. But I'm not going to leave here and go back right now because what am I doing? I'm living up to my number 2 value right now, teaching and speaking about how to better self-love through conscious living. And my number 1 value is what? Spiritual self-actualization. So if I'm in my number 1 and 2 value, I want to be here on the stage. That's why I won't get off all the time. I love doing this. And when you love doing it, guess what? You don't want to leave. You don't fall asleep in the workshop. Some people are snoring in the hypnosis. The guy behind me is a therapist, and all of a sudden, relax the left side of your body, relax the right side of your body. Amazing. He goes deep. So when we look at this, he says, when we continue to live in the past, we are unable to see the infinite possibilities available to us right now. This is really big. Living in the past, focusing on the past, stops you from being in the now, being present in the now, and when you're not in the now, you cannot see the infinite possibilities. All you see are past possibilities. See, the infinite, you can't approach the infinite with a rational mind. Rationality will tell you, you can't do this, you can do that, you can't do this. In the infinite, when you are tapped into infinite source and you're living in the quantum field, there is no limitation. But you have to get into the quantum field. And my intention today is to try to give you a taste of that. When we're done doing this talk, I'm going to try to take you into the field so that you can experience a possibility of what it's like not to be attached to your human body. Not attach your mind, but realize you have a mind and you have a body, but they're your vessels to use. You're not their vessel that they used. You get it? We've gotten away from the truth and we have allowed our body and our brain, the way it's wired, to control us instead of we controlling it. It's our DNA to become more. To deny this is to begin the process of dying. This is when the body, the mind, everything starts to deteriorate. When we no longer have a purpose, when we're no longer inspired to do something, we start dying. Our body starts to deteriorate. And if you really examine this, you will notice this. It's when you've got purpose, what does that do? It sends chemicals to the brain. Wait, he or she's got purpose. Let's make them young again. And it starts emitting those chemicals. It starts creating those hormones. It starts creating it starts where you didn't have testosterone, guys. It creates testosterone. If you want to know if you're young, this is a terrible thing to say, go get your testosterone tested. And be proud of your number. Be proud of your number. We bought into the fact that we get old, testosterone goes down. Haven't we bought into that? That's the aging process. That's not the truth. It's if you are inspired and you're in the quantum field, it will go up. Guys, you can test it for yourself. Ladies, hold your guy accountable. And don't fool yourself. Get the number. That's one of the things that I love. How many people know who Jim Rohn is? Jim Rohn is probably one of the fathers of inspirational speaking and all of that. He taught Tony Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen, all of that type of thing. Jim Rohn is always saying that when he was a sales management, he had a little box. And he would go to the salesperson, he would say, so how many calls did you make today? The salesperson would say, well, it was a tough week. He says, no, stop. Stop. That don't fit in the box. He says, well, my mother was sick and that. No, just fit the number in the box. So if I come to you and I say today, how many times did you meditate last week? And you start telling me this, I say, I'm going to say no. Put it in the box. Everything else is BS. Everything else is an excuse to live unconsciously. Did you just hear me? In listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, as Gene and I are doing this class, he comes out and says, I no longer do questions and answers in my advanced seminars. Because what I find is when people come up to me and they ask me questions, I ask them, are you doing the work? Well, Joe, no. He says, no, are you doing the work? He says, don't ask me a question if you're not doing the work. You've got the basic information. So if you've got the information and you're not using it, how can you even ask a question because you haven't done anything to experience the results of what you know? Now, I'm not going to do that except to the advanced people in this room. And the advanced people know who they are. Am I looking at you, Corey? Am I looking at you, Victor? You're advanced people. You've taken classes, haven't you? So you've got to be gentle with people and understand where they are. See, this is where empathy comes in. You can't treat everybody the same. You can't treat two people the same because everybody is different. And so you've got to be open up, and this is something we spent a lot of time yesterday on, is you've got to be willing to listen. And we become a society that does not know how to listen. We form an opinion before the person has completed talking. We want to get the last word in. I know all these things because I was an expert at that. And it takes work to listen. It takes real work not to always want to be right. Did you hear that? That's the work. There is no right or wrong. That's a hard thing to understand, but there is no right or wrong. There's just what is right for you in the moment. And what someone may demonstrate or say is wrong, but that wrong thing that you chose may lead to a consequence that causes you to awaken, to open up, and you wouldn't have got the lesson unless you had made the mistake. Do you get that? Mistakes are the only way we learn. And the only way we learn is through what? Experience. We have to experience life to learn. Without the experience, it doesn't happen. We don't get something because we need it. Did you get that? We don't get anything because we need it. It's because we deserve it. And what does it mean to deserve something? It doesn't mean where you're born. It means what is the energy that you are. You have to be an energetic match to that which you desire to come in. So if you're sitting there in debt up to here, and you're saying, I'm a millionaire, guess what? You're not a match. Millionaires don't have debt. That's why they're called millionaires. They have net worth of millions. So when you have net worth of millions, you can't be in debt. So if you are in debt, what you have to do is you have to take yourself and work toward coming out of debt. That's your next goal. And then from there, you start to build wealth, and you realize that it's a journey you're on. It's not an end destination. But in New Thought, we tend to fool ourselves and go right to I'm a millionaire. And then the credit card statements come in, and the mortgage statement comes in. And we may have some creditors calling us because we're late on some of them. And every one of those negative energies does what to us? It takes us further down the rabbit hole of being in debt. No, focus. If I'm in debt, admit it. If you're ill, admit you're ill. If you're not in a great relationship, admit you're not in a great relationship. That forms the basis for where you can now really start to be you and start moving up the ladder of awareness, up the ladder of consciousness. See, we tend to want to be the best at everything and we want the opinions of others to matter. We've got to give that up. We've just got to give up what other people think about us and say, give them the raspberry. Taylor, give me the raspberry. Give me a raspberry, Taylor. Go, thank you. Isn't it great? Kids don't take life too seriously. Can I talk about her? Can I share the experience? This young lady is 6, and she was in school. And I won't say the story exactly right, but there was a little person there, I don't know if a boy or a girl, little girl, and she was being picked on. And little Taylor went over and sat next to her and told her that don't worry about what they say. All that matters is what you feel inside. Folks, she's 6. If I was 6, I'd have my parents arrange that Taylor and I get married. But obviously, I've got a 6 on the wrong end of the number. And what was great is that the school recognized it, and she got a certificate from the principal. Think about it. That 6-year-old changed lives. That little girl that she went up to, her life was changed in that moment. That girl's in a state of what? Theta. She's unconscious. And all of a sudden, that great thing happened. That's anchored in her mind forever. Oh my God, that girl did more to change the world than I have. Isn't that beautiful? So you see that little girl? Don't scare her after service, because you people are awfully big compared to her. But you can walk up to her and say, give her a smile, okay? We're so connected to creating the future by living now. So, are you connected with creating the future, living in the now? Or are you connected, locked into the past? That's what meditation does. It frees you from the past, brings you into the now, and it's in the now that we can begin to create. The question is, do you choose to live consciously, or will you live like everybody else, an unconscious, unpurposeful life? It's your choice. No one else can make it. And let me share this. It's easier when you're with a group of like-minded people, because sometimes it feels awfully alone out there when we're doing that work. I look forward to seeing what you produce in your lives, and I know it can be magnificent. I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.